Welcome to the Brew Crew Review Podcast, the show by fans for fans of your Milwaukee Brewers. Hello, Brewer fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Brew Crew Review Podcast. This is podcast number 186. I'm Vince Travato, joined here on the set by the great man himself, Mr. Scott Bartell. Scott, how are you tonight?
Pretty good. Hey, everybody. That was my Dr. Rick impression.
That was a good one. It looks like we're still missing our illustrious co-hosts, Craig Mueller and Chad Collins. I'm sure that they'll join us at some point during the show. Did you hear it all from Chad prior to taping here tonight? Is he going to make it?
He said he was coming up with new alternative ways of teaching America's youth. So, I don't know. I mean, Brewer baseball is important. America's youth is sort of important. So I'm not sure which one's going to win out. But I don't think he's going to make it to this taping. He did give positive kind of reinforcement that he would be able to attend very soon, though, like in the next meeting or two. So stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, no, that'll be great. Great to have him back. So in any event, Scott, this is an exciting week because for the first time in the calendar year of 2020, there is a scheduled baseball game that is going to count in the standings that will take place. We're taping this on Sunday evening. Opening day has been scheduled for this upcoming Friday where the Brewers kick off their 2020 season against the Chicago Cubs. Scott, I didn't know if we were going to get here, and I'm still kind of holding my breath until Friday just to make sure that we actually do. But what are your thoughts? I mean, we've got baseball scheduled here this week.
Yeah, it's it seems almost like kind of surreal. Like, I guess at this point, like I'm just looking at it, I'm like, it's been so long since we've had any like real baseball and real sports for that matter. I mean, normally if baseball is not there, you might be able to, fill the gap with football or something, but there's just nothing. Like, so I mean, there's only so much like cornhole championships you can watch or whatever where you're just like, give me real sports please now. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. I really hope that it works out. And actually I have a quick surprise here. I'd like to introduce our other co-host. Craigers is here. I think.
Is he?
Well, maybe he's not.
Craig? Well, it was a good run. I'm sure our audience is going to be a little on edge now for the rest of the show. But
he's here. Scott, he's a silent partner.
That's all right. Scott, the last game of the baseball had that actually counted and wasn't just a spring training exhibition game was, last year's World Series between the Nationals and the Astros. So, I mean, this is really exciting. It's been a number of months, obviously, in this year is going to be a bizarre year by any measure. It's a 60-game season, as I'm sure all of our listeners know by this point. There are going to be some new rules in place. There's going to be, to start off the year at least, there's going to be 30 guys on the roster. There is going to be a trade deadline that is coming up on what day is the trade deadline this year? I know it was moved, but
let me see. I'll have the intern look it up, but yeah, you can keep going. I'll find it.
Okay. There's going to be a rule that in extra innings there will be a runner that starts off the inning at second base. There's going to be the obvious health-related rule changes like no high-fiving, no spitting, no going to your hand or with your hand to your mouth if you're a pitcher on the mound. So, it's going to be a bizarre year. And then, of course, the big one is that, of course, the 162-game schedule that was initially, published had to be thrown out. And this new 60-game schedule was implemented. And that schedule is going to be very focused on Central Division teams, both in the American League and the National League in the Brewers case. So there's going to be less traveling involved. So, what do you make of some of these changes, and what are your thoughts on kind of how this year is going to play out?
I don't want to underscore, like, obviously it's really important to do everything we can to stay safe and all that kind of stuff. But like, I think that some of the stuff that they've kind of implemented, I think it's going to be like kind of like the one-way aisle at the grocery store. Like, they're going to put down the thing and say, oh yeah, you only go down this aisle one way. But like people are just going to kind of do what they want, and there's not going to be any like major repercussions for it. Like it's just going to be a little bit like that. Like I don't know. A lot of this is kind of window dressing, but still, they're doing what they can to ensure player safety, I guess. So that's not a bad thing. The runner on second in extra innings, I think, is stupid. But strange times, whatever. What else do we got? Oh, the schedule. I think it said 27 of our first 33 games are against I think it's Cubs, Cardinals, and Reds. So
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
that's almost half your season right off the bat, and so it's really important. I know we say this every year, but it's really important for the Brewers to start strong. Like it's not going to be the type of thing, and that's going to be difficult this year more than ever because pitchers, especially, they're under a lot of pressure to get their arms stretched out and get ready and fine tune their mechanics and all that kind of fun stuff. It's a little bit easier for a hitter. It just is. But
well, and one thing with that too, really quick, that we haven't really brought up yet is that the National League has adopted the designated hitter for 2020 as well. So I guess pitchers have one less thing to worry about. But at the same time, it's a pretty dramatic change for a league that's been in existence since 1876 to suddenly adopt this rule, right?
Yeah, definitely. You would think that I don't know that necessarily it doesn't necessarily make a National League manager's job easier. It just makes it different, I think. Like you're gonna have times where you're like, oh, okay, well, it's I can leave the pitcher out there. I don't have to worry about the pitcher spot coming up in the order. But at the same time, you're going to be looking at matchups close and late, so it's going to be wild.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. One other thing that I failed to mention in the kind of list of things, there are so many changes to go through for the year, but one other thing I did forget to mention is that there will be a taxi squad. So there will be, I guess that it's going to work where there are 60 guys, 45 guys total on a taxi roster, and there's going to be a squad up in Appleton that's training as well, and ready to come up and be named to that 30-man major league roster. But that's going to be a pretty short-staffed team, first of all, and second, it's gonna. I think the one big challenge is that what happens when you have a ton of guys from one team that may get infected. So we can go through the list, but the Brewers, I think, were fairly lucky early on. There weren't too many positive tests on the team. Luis Urias is probably the biggest name, but there were Angel Perdomo, I should say, and I think that's it for the Brewers. But if those guys then are subject to the new COVID testing protocols, which means that they have to sit out for a minimum of 14 days, and they also have to pass 2 tests on separate days showing that they're negative for COVID. So how do you think that the actual health restrictions or health rules that were put into place are going to affect things this year?
I guess it's hard for me to prognosticate, I guess, but it's weird because you have all these people that are supposedly going to be in a bubble or something like that, but if someone introduces something accidentally to the bubble, then yeah, we could have a full-fledged outbreak, and a full team could legitimately drop out this year. That's definitely on the table. So that's the part that could be a little bit scary. Oh, and one thing I quick wanted to mention, you mentioned the taxi squad earlier. For our younger listeners, a taxi is kind of like an Uber or a Lyft. So just think of it as that. You're unfamiliar with that term.
Yeah, sorry, generational challenges. That's a good
point. Hey guys.
Yeah, and you're seeing some of those challenges that are already kind of popping up, and this is the week that the season is supposed to start, but the Toronto Blue Jays don't even know where they're going to be playing yet, for sure, because the government of Canada has said that the Blue Jays are not allowed to play in the country due to their COVID restrictions. So they're looking for a home as we tape this, and it sounds like it's going to be in either Buffalo, New York, where they've got a minor league team, or Dunedin, Florida, where their spring training complex is. But so that's there are lots of challenges to be faced. But that being said, it's an exciting week, I think, just because there is going to be baseball, and we'll see how this shapes up. I guess it does beg the question with the 60-game season. Is this going to count as much as it would if the Brewers were to hypothetically win a World Series this year? Is it going to be as special in 2020 as it would have been, in 2019 or 1982 or some other year?
I think Krager's just jumped in. Krager's, are you?
Oh, hey,
available?
Craig.
Krager's?
Yeah, you keep getting everybody's hopes up.
He was here. I heard him. I swear. Well, okay. If I'll answer it. On one hand, we have had shortened seasons in the past, and everyone is going to be facing the same challenges. So it is a level playing field. Having said that, I hate to say it, but no, it's not the same. It might be worth the same, but it's just not going to be. It's not going to be worth the same in my heart if this is like the first Brewers World Series championship year ever. It's just not. It's not going to be the same as like going through the entire 162 game season and all the trials and tribulations that go along with that. Now you could argue, yeah, well, there's plenty of trials and tribulations, Scott. There's a pandemic. I get it, but it's just not going to feel the same to me. And so with that in mind, you can't completely discount it, but it's just not quite the same.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Hey, Craig, there you are. Yeah, Craig.
All right,
we're talking.
I'll make sure
we can hear you. We were just talking about whether or not a Brewers championship here in 2020 would mean the same to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening. I've been listening. I'm kind of sick of hearing that. Nothing against you guys. Just, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I would say the 2020 year altogether is going to be historic in many ways. The baseball season will probably be more remembered for being a whole mishmash of craziness if they're actually able to complete it. I think it'll be the most memorable year ever, and the World Series, whoever's the World Series champion, is not going to be looked upon that much like with an asterisk that people are thinking. So I'm all for it. But if people are worried that the Brewers are going to win the World Series, then I think they've got more things to worry about.
It would be interesting to see in like picture in the history books, like the team celebrating the World Series and they all have masks on and they're throwing their ball caps in the air but leaving their mask on. Like it'll be interesting.
Well, that's interesting. Like I have seen some players wear masks on the field, but not a very high percentage yet. What are your guys' thoughts on how many players will be doing that, or once the season starts?
I think very few, Craig. I think very few because number one, it's obviously it's not quite as easy to breathe or as freeing to be wearing a mask as opposed to not wearing a mask, and it's going to be hot, especially on fields in Texas and Arizona and Florida. But number two, I just don't know that if I don't know from the disease aspect if it's as big of a risk outdoors in that type of environment. It seems like hopefully the science is now been gathered enough to at least tell us that this thing spreads mostly indoors for prolonged periods of time. So I think that you're probably going to find that people are going to be masked up inside places, but not outside. But that's just a guess. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But I think if these practice games are any indicator, it's probably going to be not as many players wearing masks as you might have thought.
I don't know that it matters really much either way. I'm just hopeful that they're able to get the season in because, I mean, it would be pretty tragic if they started it and not finished it for any way. But I thought that was interesting that you guys tried to point out that an entire team could, like, opt out of the season or have to duck out. If that were to happen, I think the entire MLB season is going to be in peril. But we'll see. I think that's the point of the 60-man rosters is that you can literally have half of the 60 guys on your 60-man roster, so to speak, be out with this and still be able to field a team, so to speak. So I think that's why they have that. And I'm sure that there might even be, if it got really desperate, I'm sure that they might even be able to, have, call up other guys sitting at home that aren't part of the 60 at some point. I don't think it'll get to that, but I think that's the whole point of the 60-man rosters, which is a good idea. And it does sound like, for the 30 people that aren't going to be making the team, as you guys are calling the taxi squad, they are going to be, playing kind of similar to what the Brewers have been playing this last week. It's just kind of daily scrimmages against one another to kind of stay sharp and fresh and have their arms all stretched out and all that good stuff. Just out of curiosity, have either of you guys been able to check out any of the whatever they're calling them, blue and gold World Series images here that have been televised through Brewers.com in the last week?
So I didn't check out the blue and gold series, but the first one that was televised, I did watch. It was before there was sound though, so it was just like the video. But so that's the only thing that I was able to watch.
Okay.
Live. I saw clips of the other stuff, but not live.
Yeah, I've been watching at least 3 of I think the 5 that they played so far, almost in their entirety. Couple of takeaways, I guess. They're piping in crowd noise in key situations, and not only that, but I think they're going to do it even just as background noise all the time, as if crowd noise of just like chattering and talking and whatnot. I think it's actually going to help the players feel like a little bit more normal, and even the viewers at home watching, I think. And again, they've got some kinks to work out with that as far as like the enthusiasm levels. I'm sure they're going to have to have good audio guys working throughout the country on these in stadiums, but I think it'll work out. We'll see. It should be interesting. As far as the Brewers themselves, a couple of takeaways. Brandon Woodruff, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of his, but he absolutely looks like an ace in the innings I saw him pitch. So I'm really excited about him. The other guy who really impressed me was Corbin Burns in the few innings he pitched. He looked absolutely lights out. And, yeah, so I'm excited about the team overall. And they had a couple of guys mic'd up, which was pretty fun to watch. And, of course, the highlight of that was, like, Brent Suter was awesome on the microphone. But Ed Cedar, Brock Holt were mic'd up, and a bunch of other guys, and it was pretty cool. And I think it was kind of an entertaining thing to try out, so I was pretty impressed by it. Check it out. I think you might be able to check them out here after the fact, but I'm not sure. But obviously, we want to get the season started here, and Brewers opening day is this week, Friday. Pretty excited about it. So it looks like it's going to be Woodruff against Kyle Hendricks of the Cubs for our opening day at Wrigley. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that, but I think why not open with a big series right away and get off to a good start.
No, it's going to be really exciting. But first of all, do you guys think that the crowd noise is going to be louder at Tampa Bay games and Miami games than normal seasons? If they're piping it in?
Almost have to be.
I mean, by definition, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think.
No, Craig, I'm very excited about the opening series. Scotty had pointed out prior to you jumping on that, it's really imperative that the team starts hot this year with, such a limited schedule. It's every game counts, 3 times more than a normal game would. So it's pretty exciting, like you said, because it is going to be just kind of a sprint instead of a marathon like normal seasons. So it's kind of a just completely different creature as far as I can tell. But yeah, very excited. I think Woodruff looks great. I've been kind of a fan of his for a long time. I think that Woodruff is definitely going to be the ace of this staff. And yeah, I'm very ready to see him face the Cubs and hopefully get a good start for the team under their belts on Friday. Yeah,
I think so we had mentioned earlier, 27 of our first 33 games are against Reds, Cubs, and Cardinals. So it's really important to get a hot start. And not only that, but to circle back, the trade deadline is August 31st. So you're coming right up to the trade deadline once you're done with that stretch of 33 games. So it makes it even more important that you have that really hot start for sure. And then one more thing I wanted to mention is the thing that we should be really thrilled with. Right now, I don't think that we have any injuries at all. Like, is that possible? I know Brett Anderson has a blister. Keston Hira was dealing with arm fatigue for a little while, but they're hoping that he's going to be fine by opening day. So, I mean, other than that, like, there just really isn't much to talk about on the injury front, which is a great thing.
Yeah, the only injuries would be the guys on the COVID list. So Luis Urias, who said apparently when he spoke to reporters, like our colleague Tom Hodgecourt, he said that he felt fine, but had still tested positive. So he's still within that 14-day window. So he's got to stay at home until the 2 negative tests for COVID on non-consecutive days. So that's the big name, I guess. It's not going to be ready for opening day probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely and a lot of guys that were going to start the season. I'm not sure, is Eric Lauer also injured or something? I thought that there was something, but I actually pitched some today.
Yeah,
But
Lauer did not test positive for COVID, but Lauer was in contact with someone who tested positive. So as a precaution, they kept him out of camp, but he did show up and pitch today. That was his first action, though, at all. So I think it remains to be seen if he's going to be on the roster or not to start the season. But, I don't think that he's actually got COVID or is injured or sick at all.
And then as long as we're kind of doing this, I guess I'm just going to rattle off this list really quick as far as people that have opted out this year, which a lot of them have some really good reasons for wanting to opt out. Like their wives are pregnant. They want to be there to see their kid be born and grow up. So yeah, I could see some people wanting to do that. Other people have their own reasons, and whatever the reason is, like if you don't want to play baseball, like it's kind of like if you don't want to go to work someday or something like that, or you have something better to do, like fine. Like I'm totally fine with any of it. Even if your reason is like, I just don't feel like playing baseball, I'm fine with that too. So with that being said, the people that have opted out so far, Mike Leake, Ryan Zimmerman, Joe Ross, Ian Desmond, David Price, Tyson Ross, Felix Hernandez, Nick Markakis, Buster Posey, Michael Kopech, and Jordan Hicks, the fireballing reliever for the St. Louis Cardinals. That's kind of the big one within the division, I guess. But yeah, I'm sure I'm probably missing some, as obviously this gets updated day to day. And then for me personally, on my fantasy team, I drafted Yasiel Puig, who signed with the Braves, and I thought, wow, in the middle of that order, that's going to be good for fantasy points. And then he instantly popped positive for COVID, and they canceled his contract. So
he didn't even make it to the signing, Scott.
I know it was rough, but yeah, I hope he pulls through, also, and probably finds a new home, or maybe they'll re-sign him. Who knows?
So, guys, I did want to throw this out here as part of the show here today. If we have to project a Brewers win number in the 60-game season, let's hear your predictions. Scotty, let's start with you.
I'll say 34 wins. That's very,
all right,
very optimistic. But remember how we said, hey, we have a DH this year. I remember how, 4 months ago, we were talking about in spring training on how we had an overload in the outfield and we had all these extra bench bats and we didn't know how we were going to find at bats for all these people. Well, we have a DH now, problem solved. Like Stearns had it all figured out all along. So I feel really optimistic about this team. I think that it's just going to be a good team.
I'll go with 33 wins.
Okay. All right. I'm going to be a tad more optimistic than you guys. I'll go with 35. We'll say that the weirdness of this year will be good for the Brewers. Yeah, I'm going to go with 35. Hey, did you get a number count from our anonymous source, Tom Carter, about how many wins he's predicting?
He did not give a prediction. Well, he made one quote bold prediction. I'm air quoting that. He said he could guarantee, bet it in Vegas if you can. He said there will not be a 100-win team this year in MLB. So, thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Always coming through. Well, thanks to our anonymous source. Okay, so we'll mark him down for 99, and then I will say a lot of
the projected standings that some of these places like Fangraphs and other people are coming up with for the NL Central in particular seem kind of exciting. I think that they've pretty much got us, the Cardinals, Cubs, and Reds all within 3 games of each other, which really means just from day one, every game, and especially against their NL Central opponents, are going to be huge. So,
I can see baseball having gone through all these rule changes to make sure that time on the field is limited, like the stupid rule about putting a runner on second base in extra innings to start an inning, and then all these teams, because there's so few games, end up tied on the last day of the season, have to play 3 or 4 different tiebreaker scenarios, and just add to the drama that way. So that should be a very interesting season. It already is, really.
Well, you remember every year that they always talk about like, whoa, what if there's like a 3 or a 4-way tie for a wild card or something like that? And we always think, wow, what a crazy scenario that would be. Well, with a 60-game season, that scenario becomes much more likely. So it could get
not only a
wild.
60-game season, but so many games against teams in your division. It's like
Yeah.
half of the season is going to be just against teams like in your division. And I know we play the Cardinals and Cubs and Pirates and Reds a lot in other years, but not to this degree. So it's even more likely mathematically that that's going to happen this year.
Yep.
And I really think that the Brewers are going to use the tradition they already kind of started in the last couple of years as, they keep calling them out-getters. But outside of Woodruff pitching every 5 days, maybe 6 innings or so, I think the rest of the pitchers are going to just be relied on to get through 3 or 4 innings, and then the next guy will come in. So it'll be a very non-traditional season, I think that and this won't just be the Brewers, but I think, unfortunately, because of the short season and the short time to ramp up pitchers, toward 100 pitches, besides those like true aces, like maybe like Madison Bumgarner types, none of these guys are really going to probably be pitching past 5 innings. So I really believe that bullpens are going to make or break the good teams this season. I think the Brewers are positioned well because of it. Not only that, and the teams with depth at starting pitcher, which the Brewers might not, what they lack in quality, they definitely have in quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it really does kind of play to this team's strengths, the way that it's set up like that. I mean, I really think that they're going to be able to, you're not going to have like a lot of, I guess, stars on this particular Brewers team, but we always talked about how the depth was really important, and there's a lot of people that are going to be able to step up and do a lot for this team this year.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think it's going to be really big to have both Garcia and Braun's bats in the lineup every day. Going into spring training, initially it was maybe Ryan Braun can play some first base and platoon and, play 4 or 5 days a week. But with the DH in effect, I think that really extends Braun's ability to contribute to the team this year.
And I guess back to the injury thing, Braun really has he even gotten on the field yet? I don't know. But, I mean, if he's only going to DH, I don't know how well, he needs to get up to speed where he probably could be ready by next weekend. But it'll be interesting. I think Brett Anderson was supposed to pitch the second game of the season initially, and whether or not his blister holds him from that, I don't know. But he piggybacked in, I think the second of these scrimmages with Corbin Burns, and he had to leave early with the blister, and Corbin Burns looked absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited about both him and Woodruff going this year. I'm also excited about Freddie Peralta and what role he's going to have on this team, as I think he could really have and more of a breakout year even this year too. So, and even guys that we haven't even seen much of, like Eric Lauer, who we of course acquired this offseason, and also a free agent signing like Josh Lindblom. I mean, there's a lot of guys and a lot of unknowns, but there's a lot of things, kind of new toys for the Brewers to be excited about, and in even more development with their young guns, so to speak.
Do you guys think that there's any chance that, right now, I think Josh Hader is slotted to be the closer again this year. Do you think that that's going to be the case throughout the entire year, or do you think that if, let's say, someone like Corey Knebel is able to step up and show that they're return to form, so to speak, that they might be able to inherit the closer role, and Josh Hader would kind of go back to that sort of fireman role? Or what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Scott, you hit it on the head. I mean, Josh Hader wasn't the closer until Corey Knebel got injured and was out for such a prolonged period of time that he obviously stepped into that role admirably. If the Josh Hader, though, of my RBI baseball 2020 game is any indicator, he should not be closing this year. He should maybe be in later innings of relief and used strategically like Andrew Miller was.
Yeah, and that's what they did 2 years ago. And I think that, to be quite honest, I think Josh Hader was more valuable in that role 2 years ago for the Brewers playoff run than he was last year as just a closer. So with Knebel back and the experience, I wouldn't be surprised, especially he can just totally neutralize any, especially big left-handed hitters coming up in the opposing team in particular. So that, if you play the Cubs and all of a sudden you got a lead around the 7th or 8th inning, but then Anthony Rizzo's coming up next inning, why not use Josh Hader that inning, because if you get past that part of the lineup, you're probably going to be pretty okay with Knebel finishing it out. So I wouldn't be surprised, to answer your question, Scott, that they went back to that route. But I think they're still going to give it a little bit of time with Josh Hader still in that role, just for, to make sure Corey Knebel is raring to go, so to speak, and back himself, because that's not a guarantee per se.
And that closer role is going to be even more important this year because, you're going to have a guy coming in, I guess, in extra innings in some cases. So maybe just the guy whoever would normally pitch your 10th inning is going to be even more important because you're going to be starting with a runner on second base. So you've got to find a guy that's able to pitch out of jams, essentially, even one that he didn't create and just inherited unintentionally.
Yeah, I think the way that Hader is used is going to be really interesting to me this particular year because, one, I mean, obviously, you're not going to really have to worry about innings per se. Like, he's not going to, he's not going to throw 150 innings, obviously, in a 60-game year. So, obviously, he's going to have much less innings thrown. Having said that, we used to utilize him in a way that we could say, all right, you're going to throw 2 innings today. We're going to give you off tomorrow. Or you're going to throw 2 1/3 today. We'll schedule you to have off tomorrow, or we have an off day tomorrow anyway, so that's fine. But now with such limited off days, we're not going to be able to utilize that. So I don't know if it's going to be you'll see more appearances from Hader, but he's only going to throw like 1 inning basically, or if we're going to use him for multiple innings because we, and just make sure that he gets like that sort of day off in between. I'm not sure how they're going to do it.
Yeah, but I do think the Brewers are going to have one of the strongest bullpens in the entire NL and definitely the NL Central. I mean, if you look at the Cubs bullpen with, pretty much over the hill, Craig Kimbrell as their closer and really not that much depth. I mean, I think they're even considering Jeremy Jeffers, who couldn't even make our team anymore, to be like their setup guy possibly. So, and the Cardinals definitely, I don't even think they know who their closer is going into this year. So, I mean, I just think the Brewers have a leg up in that regard. I think that'll be huge this season.
Well, let's hope so, guys. It's down to the wire. And Scott, were you able to get any information from our intern regarding when the trade deadline is this year?
Yeah, August 31st.
Okay, great.
I kind of slipped it in there when I was talking about the 27 of 33 games right off the bat, that big crunch of schedule, and then
I will say deadline. That. Oh, sorry, Scott. I will say that I think this year's trade deadline will be like the quietest trade deadline ever, probably. But I mean, we'll see. It could be the opposite, or it could just be average. We'll see. But I have a funny feeling that people aren't going to go kind of all in because of this, because of the reason you kind of mentioned. Like, is this what our fans really want in a World Series this year, or for us to go all in with all our cards this year, or should we kind of just see where the cards fall, so to speak, as they're already aligned? So we'll see.
Yeah, and so many teams are likely to still be in it, with that small of a schedule, especially at that point in the year. You'd really have to play pretty poorly your first, 30 games to not have a chance at something this postseason.
Yeah, but having said that, like if you're a team like, I don't know, the Orioles or something like that, who, probably doesn't have much of a chance to make the playoffs this year, wouldn't you just say, hey, everybody if it's the final year of your contract, like we're going to deal as many people as we can. I guess that's probably the same just about every year where they want to get rid of all those pieces, but we could see less trades and probably less trades involving a bunch of different teams, but there could be a few teams out there that would just say like, hey, we're going to blow it up.
Just out of curiosity, guys, which of the NL Central teams, and sorry, Pirates fans, but I'm kind of leaving your team out of this, which of the NL Central teams worry you the most going into this year? The Cubs, the Cardinals, or the Reds?
The Pirates, man. They always kill us.
Pirates.
I'll say, I know the popular answer right now is Cincinnati. I'm going to say the Cardinals actually scare me the most.
I hate it when we agree. No, I'd say Cardinals. Cardinals have a lot of young, talented arms, and I just think that they know how to win close and late. The Brewers know how to win close and late. The Reds they've got a great team on paper. It'll be interesting to see if they can put it all together. And the Cubs, I think, have already peaked. I know that people are still kind of on that bandwagon a little bit, but I think they're past their prime.
I actually agree with you guys. I was going to say the Cardinals too, but I could default to the Reds just because I think that they have a chance to be a team this year. And I guess none of us are saying the Cubs, and I agree with that. I'll actually go on record and saying that I think the Cubs will finish under 500 this year. And their bullpen's not very good. Their offense is aging, and their rotation is really kind of top heavy, and that's about it. So we'll see. But, I mean, it's still going to be pretty sweet to beat the Cubs, especially this opening weekend, next weekend, just to have baseball back. I don't know. It looks like we still have about 6 minutes remaining here, Scott. But real quick, you guys probably didn't hit on this already, but what are your thoughts? And I know this affects you out in Washington, D.C., Vince, but it looks like the Nationals were considering or exploring possibly playing somewhere else, but they are going to now play at their home stadium in D.C., which is nice. But the Blue Jays, on the other hand, are not going to be able to play, at least the start of the year, it looks like, in their home games in Toronto. And I'm sure they're going to end up somewhere like Buffalo at their AAA site or something. But what are your guys' overall thoughts on if this is going to come up more again, or even, I guess, your overall thoughts on these type of crazy situations?
Yeah, we had talked about it briefly, but I don't know that it's going to change once the season starts. I tend to think that once they start playing in a place that they're probably just going to maintain that. If I had to guess where Toronto is going to play, I'll say Buffalo. I just think it makes more sense. It's closer to the original fan base. So in the event that there are fans eventually allowed into games here in 2020, it would make some more sense. And also just because Florida is unfortunately such a COVID hotspot right now, it would make way more sense, I think, to put the Jays in Buffalo than it would be in, like Dunedin, Florida, their spring training home. And as far as DC goes, I'm, very excited. Obviously, it doesn't really affect things too much in the sense that we can go to games. But I was glad to see that the Nats are going to be playing, out in their home ballpark. And it's weird to think that, 5 days from now, the Yankees are coming here to Washington, D.C. and playing the Nationals, and nobody's going to be going. Last year I remember I went to a Yankees Nationals game that was just a spring training exhibition game, even before opening day, and it was really exciting, and a lot of fans showed up, and it was cool. So it's weird to think that they're going to be here in 5 days and nobody's going to go.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Buffalo seems geographically like a really good place for them to end up. But if the Blue Jays, that is, but it would be really cool, even though it would make absolutely no sense to give it to like, I don't know, like Iowa or something like that. I mean, even though they wouldn't even have fans that would be able to attend, like, I think that would be really cool, like just to have them kind of hosting a team for once or something like that. But no, geographically, that wouldn't make any sense. Buffalo seems fine.
But Scott, it was the Canadian government that put their foot down about the Blue Jays. It wasn't like the city of Toronto. It was the Canadian government. So Ottawa wouldn't work.
What? No, not Ottawa, Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. I think that's Ottawa.
Oh, no, sorry.
Canada.
No.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely Canada that's coming up with this. That's why I don't think it's going to be an issue with any other cities or teams or anything like that. But I guess you never know. I mean, even here, it seems like, I think last we checked, there's like 14 states in a red zone or something, or whatever that means. So, yeah, I guess anything's possible.
Yeah, including Wisconsin, I think, now.
Hey, Nevada, we're on the list.
Yeah. Well, anyway, stay safe out there. But, yeah, guys, it's going to be exciting. Do you have any plans for the game itself? What are you going to be doing for it to celebrate? I can tell you that out here, we are going to grill brats on Friday evening. I will be wearing a Christian Yelich jersey or a Brewer, or maybe by Sheffield. I haven't decided yet, but we will be most definitely watching the game live, and we will grill out to celebrate.
I plan on grilling safe at home. Probably brats, but maybe ribs. Ribs isn't one of those things that I do when I'm tailgating, but like if I'm at home, like why not?
Hi, Scotty. Good work. Greg?
All right. I'm hoping to be able to listen in while I'm quote unquote working from home. We'll see. Or is it a Friday evening game? I thought it was a Friday afternoon, but I'm not even sure.
I think it's at night.
Oh, okay. Should be good then. I'll at least be listening to it in some fashion. Be looking forward to listening to Bob Uecker on the radio again. Well,
yeah, 7:10 p.m. DC time, so 6:10 by you.
Awesome. All right. We'll stay class.
Yeah.
Dallas.
All right, guys. Baseball this week. Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.
Here, guys.
Hey, Scott, if you need to, just plug this in. Don't forget to give us a follow at Brew Crew Review 1 on Twitter, or send us any email questions, Brew Crew Review Podcast with an S at gmail.com.
I might do it. I don't know.
Go Brewers.
Okay. All right. Go.